Today is the World Refugee Day. It's such important things for Uyghurs. First of all, it's really because of myself. I'd like to put out, our, whole community around the world, and also Tibetans, and they're really close to our heart. And Falun Gong followers, and there's so many church-based organisations and the members. And wherever they are, they always reach out to us, just seeking help, and as well as really keen to work on this frontier. And so I really do appreciate it. It's not only just the one religion or a particular community. We're pretty much covering all aspects, and especially thanks for Leah. You actually reduced a lot of pressure from me, and I wasn't going to how I explain the torture side of the business, and Leah pretty much covered, so I don't have to do that part of work. Thanks. Speaking of, I didn't create such a beautiful PowerPoint, and I saw this in conference, and it was told me like the very last minute, so I kind of write it out what I can and end up still 13 pages, but I'm not going to read through all 13 pages. I just go through the topic, the main views, and how I see, and I believe my paper is on the booklet. So yeah, if you're interested and you really want to sit down and have a coffee reading time, please go for it. Before I go through my the presentation, there's two things from last week really stands out. I don't know how much you are actually interested in or following our current issues. This is a mass concentration, mass detention, and plus the concentration camps and inside of China. One is after the Hong Kong rally, BBC actually interviewed Chinese ambassador to UK, Liu Xiaolin, and his message was very patriotic but interesting, and he was completely denying the existence of concentration camp. And so where did you get your 1 million number? Yet they still fall behind international investigation. We are no longer talking about 1 million anymore because the numbers escalating, more and more evidence coming out. We are talking about the camp itself is a 3 million, over 3 million. Besides that, Leah already mentioned there's 8 different types of prison and the detention centers and the camp. That's 3 different categories. And we're talking about there's another 2 to 3 million people also kept in detention centers without any charge. Then we have a prison system. What's happening at the moment is we're not actually talking about regular judicial system here. When they start sentencing, they bring 50 to 100 people in the same room, giving one sentence. They categorize people. People who sentence between 3 to 12 months, one category. Roughly about 50 people, given sentence, taken out. Then there's a 12 months to 3 years as another category. Then 3 years up to 6 years is another category. So they divide the category by category. They don't sentence one by one, it's by group. So you can see this whole Chinese judicial system is how chaotic. They can't keep up with sentencing any longer. So that's why they want to reduce the stress pressure from camp. They're removing people from camp and the detention over to prison system. Now, I think if you really look into some really good studies from ASPI, Australian Security Institute, it's part of the Defence Research, they come up with a brilliant map, and they mapped the existing, or rather we can see with eyes, with a satellite image, about 28 concentration camps. They put on the internet, the website, they create this very interesting interactive map. If any one of you here, if you have any information about the number 29, you can actually enter that information into this map. Very interactive. But in our research, our investigation within our community, we're not talking about 28 camps here. There's just so many camps actually on the ground. And also they moved the neighboring province, so like Gansu, Ningxia. And the camps over there, so we're talking about capacity 150,000, almost like a small city we're talking. In Chinese standard, that's a small city. And in international standard, and especially I came from Australia, 150,000 quite decent medium-sized city in our standard. So if you think about it, one camp can sustain 150,000 people. Can you imagine how many people have to work in that center? And can you imagine the kids involved? And can you imagine the food, water, the sanitation, hospital, all other facility has to come along. So this is not something like a simple operation or simple exercise we talk about. This is military exercise. If you don't mobilize at least another 50,000 people, you cannot manage that 150,000 people. If you mobilize 50,000 people, adults, and how about their families? So that's why they're building another brand new city in the middle of nowhere. So that's actually, once again, that's another image. Recently, they did discover in Gansu, but I don't think it was actually managed to put it up into existing database. So this is kind of the recent, very latest development situation. Now, despite all of that, I've been battling with the UN Human Rights Commission and as well as a few other departments for quite some time, trying to get their attention. And the counterterrorism deputy secretary, Vladimir Volkov, he decided to go to China. And that didn't go too well. And everyone outcrying, criticizing. Yet when they come back, the counterterrorism, the commission put up a little press release. It's absolutely soft. Literally nothing you can pick on from that piece of paper. But once again, UN really did let us down. And we are very disappointed, and as well as we don't know yet where it's going to go, the way it's UN actually, the handling current situation. But we are still intent to work with the different countries and within the UN, how we can actually regenerate that with power, collaborative response, rather than just one country or one, this international governing system, which is UN. UN is not too helpful right now. So if you look at my the paper, there's a couple of things. It's the who are we? Why China is so interested in trying to get rid of us, and that they keep using the same word over and over again. Final solution. When did you hear that final solution? It's in the movie. That was in the Second World War. That final solution, that notion pop up. But China, when they're talking, when they're handling the Uyghur population, along with other Muslims in the northwest corner of China, that's what they're using. If they call this is our final solution. Whatever is the definition of final solution, more and more, when we look at the evidence we gathered, it is actually systemic genocide. And I put it out about 14, the fact, why do we classify this as systemic genocide? It has actually kick-started 20 years ago. No one noticed. And it was developed so sustainably, it's so steady, so gradual, and so slow as well. And eventually intensified starting from 2016. Until then, no one actually really paying attention what was going on the ground. So we are Turkic language speaking people, and our population, based on our own scholars, we're roughly about 20 million people inside China. And other than 20 million, we have another nearly 4 million people in Central Asia, right across 5 states. And we also have about another 5,000 to 6,000 people and in different countries in Europe. We have another, roughly about 5,000 population live in Australia, and we have just about over 8,000 in the United States. And we released the data shows roughly about 60,000 Uyghur population living in Turkey. So we're not talking about very small numbers of people here. It's quite large, decent numbers. Australian population is 23 million. So we are talking about one country's population here. So it's not like simply trying to get rid of 100 or 200 people. It's trying to diminish roughly about 23 to 24 million people. That's not small numbers. So we actually experienced twice in the history our own independence. Once is 1973, second time around we tried, that was 1944. When China Communist Party managed to get in and signed the Yalta Agreement, that was 1949, then pretty much agreed to give us autonomous rights. It was given in 1954. So we've been taken or merged into current Chinese territory. That was agreement between China and Russia at the time. Now, if we look at our geopolitics, we are, in a way, is a Chinese frontier. If they wanted to get access to Central Asia and beyond, and as well as Europe. So we're sitting in a very critical, important corridor. We're also providing this pathway for China to move their economy, military influence, and as well as their expansion from where they are now to move into Caspian Sea, Central Asia, and as well as Europe. And once they go into Central Asia and Europe, there's another, if you look at the Belt and Road Initiative, they're going through sea, already expanded to Africa. So very much they managed to cover 3 continents in one go. So that's why it's our position, geopolitically, we are very critical. And if they constantly see that little disagreement or unhappiness or unstable situation in that corner, China will not be quite happy to spend so much money, doing so much infrastructure, trying to push out, yet leaving that really sensitive, yet unstable situation behind, which is looking at us as their enemies. So first of all, they have to do one for all, get rid of people, absolutely push them down to the ground, making sure they never rise again. So that's what's happening right now. And if I look at those few factors I put it in, from 2016 onwards, that's when Belt and Road Initiative became really intensified, pretty much expanded to roughly about 40 countries. They start signing the agreement and all of that. At the same time, what's happening to us is current Xinjiang is completely cut off from outside. And we, as a living in a diaspora, we cannot communicate with our family any longer. Prior to that, what was happening was every phone call we make to our family, every email that we sent, or every even WeChat, the message we sent, everything is monitored. And if I ring my parents today and I spoke to them, and we're actually very careful until 2016, very careful what we say, very careful we're making sure we don't put our family at risk, but that's why there's nowhere near we will be talking anything politically sensitive topic. Even with that, and our family is still not safe. And if I talk something today, tomorrow, the local police will visit my home and ask for my parents. And so you have spoken to your daughter yesterday, and this discussed. And I think We already told you so many times, and you need to reduce the numbers of phone calls you're receiving from overseas. Unfortunately, we have 3 out of our 5 kids in my family. We live in overseas. And if we ring parents, if me, I'm ringing, and my other 2 siblings, like they're literally receiving 3 phone calls in a week, which has immediately put my family at risk. I'm talking just only about one family story here. Like myself, there's so many stories right across the region. So what China did, eventually brilliantly, come up with a blanket policy. If you're receiving phone call from your family, if you answer that phone call, you will be in a camp. That's what's happened. It's very simple, just by receiving one phone call. I personally, my 2 sisters, they're in and out of camps 3 times already, prior to me speaking out. And we tried everything, trying to sustain the calm situation at the time. Didn't work. And many families, actually the situation even worse than that. We, yes, managed to bring them out, but so many of the family members there went in and never came out. And then the situation only got worse. They come to the term, Chinese authority didn't get shy to ring us overseas directly from origin, threatening us. So that's what we're talking about is we no longer Chinese citizens. They're quite happy to put pressure on Australian citizens. That this is extrajudicial, that's went beyond their border. They knew this is wrong, but they're still doing it. They're threatening, they're reaching out their arm so far. Not only Australia, we have families in Europe, we have family in the United States. They're receiving the same phone calls directly from national Chinese public security personnel. This is how far they went before it's come to where we are now. That's why when I say it's a gradual, that's the gradual I'm talking about. They didn't just do it overnight, or they didn't do it over the months or a week period. They gradually just literally chewing up that little bolt, tied up and tied up, eventually come to breaking point. So this connection between inside and outside of Xinjiang was the biggest cut for us. And we're no longer talking to our families, which means pretty much we cut off from our roots. And average people, randomly, if you pick and choose, someone disconnected with their own family, it's roughly about 2.5 to 3 years. I lost contact with my family April 2017. So many people, that's average. And some people even stop talking to or stop communicating with their families since 2016. Either their families taken away or they simply cannot ring anymore. And family asking them to stop ringing them. So this is the kind of it is enormous. It's a mega size, a distraction for our communities. And this is the fact 1. And fact 2, I'm trying to put a little bit of a picture here, is there's one thing, and wherever you go, there's legality issues here. And when we start campaigning, we're trying to explain to people what's the legal ramification of holding someone more than 24 hours, more than a week, more than 1 month in the prison-like system. And that's why when they say, yes, it is a camp, we know people been staying there months and months, even a year. And we knew, we are reporting, even up to 2 years, no one knows what's happening to them. Family members not allowed to see or do anything. And what the reaction from international communities, how is that possible? And I would say, in that sense, we really much appreciate Adrian Zen, and he did brilliant work, and putting all this evidence together. And the first and the most important, this estimate of 850,000 people was in that camp. That was back in 2017, the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And still, that number actually took 3 months for international community to accept. Then there's another thing about the nature of the people taken into camp. They're not only just randomly taken, they're actually very specifically, very well planned, taking people into that camp. And until now, we have over 400 scholars, Uyghur scholars, all gone. So if you think about, if you want to diminish one society, you will start from the intellectuals. Once the intellectuals gone, there's no such thing called nourishing. That society will no longer flourish. That's what's happening to us. At the moment, we lost 485 scholars, all taken in a camp, detention centres, as well as prison. Now, latest edition of one, we have 60 out of the 485 scholars died either as a result of torture or at least literally given a desperate sentence. So once again, it's like that there's a variety of people there. If you can read it, you will get to know it. And it's actually pretty much from teachers all the way to writers, scientists, and bit of like you guys as journalists and reporters, whoever can actually hold a pen, make certain influence in the society, all taken. And there's not only about adults we're talking about, there's the children as well. We have a family, boys, adults, all the adults above age of 18 is gone, taken. So what's going to happen with children? And China came up with a brilliant idea called state-run orphanage. At the moment, based on the population are taken in, and based on the numbers of family separated from children, adults from children, we have nearly 500,000 children are taken in. And other than that, and I quickly go through this, and also missing people. And because its numbers are so unpredictable, we cannot pinpoint out how many people actually went missing. We don't know the numbers. We don't know how many people died in the camp. And all speculation going on at the moment. So we only know numbers of people taken, but we don't know how many died already. But there is a very few information actually leaking out inside of, from Xinjiang, from different places. I was saying, yes, my dad passed away, or my sister did this and this. This is all this very small amount of data we're talking about, and very small evidence. And the other thing I really want to talk about is this DNA ID database that China created for us. And we've been forced, every Uyghur family, every single person asked to, create, that this is not voluntary, involuntary, contributed DNA database since 2016, end of 2016 until recently. They created that database. So based on that database, they also has this artificial intelligence, face recognition software. So they can track every one of us where we are. So this is massive surveillance we're talking about. It's not average surveillance what we're looking at on the streets. This is actually, it's integrated into our DNA. So this is not average surveillance. So I would like everyone to pay attention to that. But then they're expanding this technology to different countries at the moment. And the other factor is we're talking over again and again this is religious persecution and cultural persecution. When you look at the scale and the progression of the kind of persecution, this is no longer religious or cultural persecution anymore. It's systemic. They uprooted every single families. Every one of the families is actually either dismantled or separated or disrupted. So when you think about any society, when a family is gone, the family is the little seal of that society. The community will be gone. When community is gone, that society will be gone. So therefore, the Uyghur, the identity base, that community no longer exists. Or takes many, many years if we have a chance, if we want to recover, to come back to normal again. There's another final point I would like to talk to you about. So what's that mean to international community? What's happening to us? It's actually affecting internationally at the moment, and we are doing quite decent studies on how do we see the scale of this whole mass detention. At the moment, where's the trend, where's the development is China allowing people to leave the camp unless they're signed to work state-owned factories there's no such simple payment, which is actually 21st century free deficit slavery system. So they're allowed to leave the camp but go to sign into that factory. They stay in a factory Monday to Friday, sometimes the information will be so far collected. They live, eat, sleep in the factory, they work in the factory. If you're good enough, you're allowed to go home on a weekend, see your family, and coming back again. And there's no such thing called salary involved. And then we also come up with another set of research at the moment. We're doing this data collection. Who's actually buying that product? Who's actually getting the benefit? You may not know. Our current research shows as quite vast international companies, actually their chain, end up in that state-owned factories inside China. And we recently come up with a list of the IT companies, roughly about 36 IT companies who actually register different parts of the world, as well as in Australia, actually has engagement with inside China with those factories. And some of these IT companies, they even actually help them to establish and maintain the database and creating whole surveillance system, even a camera. Some of the cameras actually technologies provided by Australian IT companies. And those things we're going to be pulling up. And we asking international business community to take a notice of, are you still going to use slave labor in 21st century? Are you happy to go back to the 19th century or even 18th century, go back to that slave labor orientated economy? And then we are getting some win-win situation here. And some of the factories and some of the business actually start cutting their connection with China, the cleaning out, and as well as they no longer be part of that chain anymore, and as well as they're really looking into the investment, as well as the production line, how much actually China involved in that production line. And we even, some of the fashion brands like you may know here, they're called Gap, H&M, Adidas, sports, a couple of other sportswear, and as well as Forever 21, this women fashion, so on. List goes on. They all have the chain inside Xinjiang, as well as they actually utilize or use just a slave labor in their factory. And even hence, if anyone wants to buy hence a kitchen or even tin soup, you never know, that probably made in the slave labor factories. So when you buy things in the near future, please watch out where it's produced and which chain line, actually who produced. So we are actually really putting out these messages to all the business companies internationally, letting them see, are you going to contribute continuously Chinese way of mass destruction in a way, and as well as 21st century largest atrocity and systemic genocide of Uyghur and other Muslim communities. Thank you.